So today's training session or today's webinar rather is called Managing Your Digital Footprint. And I think the reasons behind this presentation are mainly focused at that we need to make sure that we create good digital footprints for ourselves so that we are not hindered to progress due to the footprints that we leave. Right. So I am going to welcome you again to the session. Please follow the link, the link in the chat group for registering your attendance. My colleague Uzodumo will be making sure that she manages the chat. So if you have any questions and any of the links that we share during the presentation, she will then be able to share them in the chat group. Also feel free to raise your hand. So today's learning targets, we are going to become more aware of the global digital growth and its effects, or rather effects. We are going to try and demonstrate the understanding of digital footprints and their real life consequences to manage them responsibly. So we're trying to identify and understand what we mean by digital footprint and see how this footprint affects us in real life and what the consequences are where the footprint is not too clear or is not the greatest, and how to try and be responsible by managing these footprints. And lastly, we're going to build and manage a healthy digital footprint. Right, so let's dive straight into it. Let's try and define this digital footprint. I think a lot of us see footprint as when you're walking on sand, and when you step on sand, the little element or the little blotch that that remains on the sand after you've stepped becomes the footprint. So what's the difference between that footprint, which is more physical than digital, and the digital footprint? A digital footprint is the impression you create on the internet through your online activities, right? So any activity coming from your end that you, be it talk about or you do or you show, so that impression that you leave is exactly what a digital footprint is. This will include when you're browsing the net, right? Your interactions with others, and any publications, like I was saying, any videos you may share, any pictures, any form of publication content that you share. So this will include any blogs that you share, any jokes that you share online. All of those elements form part of a digital footprint. So what do we mean by that? In other words, it is a trail of data, whether you do it intentionally or unintentionally. So when you're online, you're not intentionally imagining that you are leaving a digital footprint. Sometimes you write a blog with the aim that you want to leave it there so that whoever crosses paths with your profile then has access to that particular information that you've shared. So sometimes it's intentional, sometimes it's unintentional, and then you leave behind while surfing the internet. When a site you visited drops a cookie in the browser, it contributes to your digital footprints. So every time you open a browser and it's a browser that you like, when you open a new page, when you Google something, then the browser drops a cookie there. That cookie that sits there as part of your history then also forms part of your digital footprint. So all this trail of data consists of your posts, your social media platforms, your private correspondences. This will include your emails, your websites that you visit, even the records of your online purchases. So this online purchasing business, all those elements, whatever it is that you do in a digital space where someone else external will have access to whatever it is that you're doing, then you're leaving that footprint. All right. So let's look at some online interaction stats, right? We're not going to spend a lot of time on these slides, but I do think it's important that we look at these stats because they inform us about the amount of time that we spend online. And, you know, the amount of time that we spend online then informs how we should be behaving online. So for adults, it says that 69% of adults are on social media. So it's not a particular one, a particular social media page, but there's 69% adults currently who use social media, right? And then 79% people on Facebook are adults. So 79% users on Facebook are adults. 63%, so 63% of these adults check their child's online activities. So there's that interaction between parents and children, and parents are greatly concerned about their children being online. And this results in a great number checking what their children are actually doing online. And only 32% are very confident in keeping their children safe online. So in as much as 63%, just about 50% are confident that they are able to keep their children safe online. So that's not a big number, right? And then on the right-hand side, we look at the online interaction for children. It says that 97% of children have used a device, a mobile device, by the age of 4. And I can attest to that because I've got a 15-month child who already knows how to maneuver around my phone. So he knows how to go to contacts, and he knows, looking through the pictures, he knows his father's profile picture, and he's able to press on it. And in most instances, that ends in a call. He's also able to track where his bunny is. So when he wants to watch bunny, he's able to scroll on the device and find the application I have for him, and then he's able to watch whatever and this is only at 15 months. So it is true that by the age of 4, it's possible that 97% of our children have used a device. And then it also says that 59% have used social media by the age of 10. Now we know that possibly people who have joined this session are just over 10, and they are actively involved with some form of activity that's happening online, right? 42% have messaged strangers by the age of 12. So before even hitting the age of being teenagers, these guys are texting with people that they do not know, right? And then lastly, it says that 49% of teens who have received hateful, sexist or racist comments on their social media platforms or online. And I think a great number of us can attest to this. We were following a Limpopo story not so long ago where a child was being bullied at school. Now, when you track and follow the history of that story, it seems it's a story that started online. So it's not something that erupted from school. I think the actual physical activity where this child was being bullied happened at school. But there's a lot of background work that was happening online that made this story to blow out, and it came out as bullying at school, right? Now, let's take a closer look at what happened when COVID hit us, right? immediately when we went to lockdown, or when COVID was all over the world, it was known that it's stated as a pandemic. We saw that 54% of people were watching shows and films on live stream. So it wasn't just DSTV anymore or SABC. People are streaming, they wanting to select what they want to select, and all that activity is happening online, right? 43% of the people online was spending much longer hours being on social media. So because people weren't going to work, and they didn't necessarily have contact with their friends, with their families, what happened is that the usage of social media just went up, and we saw that people were spending more time on social media. And we saw that 42% spent time on messenger services. So this is just not your Facebook anymore, but we're looking at your WhatsApp instant messages or your normal messaging services. And we saw that 37% were listening to live stream music. All right. So gone are the days of listening to our CDs or even using USBs. Now people are actually streaming their music online. And we saw that there was a hike in application downloads. So more and more people were using application. This will be different applications. So when you were using Facebook on a browser, now you're probably using Facebook, the application. So more and more people were moving towards using applications. And 35% were gaming, and 16% were creating and uploading videos, and a good 15% were listening to podcasts. So you realize when you look at all this time and activities that are happening, they were all happening online. Nothing was physical because it was COVID. People were locked down. We couldn't visit each other. We couldn't see each other. However, we remained in touch with each other, and we remained in touch with the resources that we like using. So people generally do not like things that are different. So where, as far as possible, people seek to use or to be a part of the world still, even when the world was on lockdown or shut down. All right. So now let's look at the global digital growth. All right. So we see that the total population is sitting at plus 81 million, right? And there are unique mobile phones that are 93%, meaning the devices that we have in the world currently are just above the amount of people that currently exist. So we have more devices than actual people who exist in the world. Okay. And on top of that, there's plus 316 million people who are internet users. So what we're looking at, when we're looking at that data, it informs us that when you are online, you're not online doing one activity, right? Because the activities online far surpasses the number of devices and far surpasses the number of people who exist. So, and the social media or social media users are sitting at plus 490 million. So there's a great imbalance in terms of the population, in terms of people who are using digital tools against the number of unique devices that are there, against people who are generally using the internet and people who are actively involved on social media. You'll realize that there's more activity on social media on social media, and there's more activity on internet users, and the number of digital devices, or the growth of in terms of population of the digital devices that are being used, is also quite big. But in terms of, in an ideal situation, you'd want to have plus 81 million people who are using digital devices. That would mean there are 81 million plus unique mobile users. And at a time, you'd see just about 81 million users. But what we're seeing here is probably from the 81 million users, they are actively involved on the internet using multiple devices. So that's what's actually happening here. So people who are online are actually, if they start going online, they find different means of being online in different ways. That's what the stats are telling us. Actual presentation. Right. So, are you visible online? With the people we've just checked, it was Anele and Uzodumo, right? Have you been mentioned on social media? We saw that to Anele there was a mention, even though it wasn't directly linked to her profile on Facebook. But we know she may be on Facebook because the posts that she applied for seems to be on Facebook, right? Do you have a Google profile? We saw that Uzodumo potentially has a Google profile through work. Do you have a Facebook account? Like we mentioned, Anele does have an account. Do you have a Twitter account? None of them seem to have Twitter accounts, but we didn't do an extensive search, because when you scroll further down on the pages, it could have been that there's more pages that have information about the two people we were working with. So we didn't track any Twitter accounts, right? Do you have an Instagram account? For both of them, we couldn't track Instagram accounts. Do you have a LinkedIn profile? For Uzodumo, we saw that there is an active LinkedIn profile. Have you been tagged in any images? For Uzodumo, we could track that she was tagged in one of the SchoolNet pages. Is there mention of you online? For both of them, there is a mention. Did you know that internet predators use digital trails to prey on their victims? An online background check by recruiters and employers is a common practice these days. So when we're looking to employ people, especially in the digital space, and this will now be almost every job, because every job requires some form of digital use, So in most instances, when you apply for a job, over and above the CV that you share, recruiters now also look at your social media profiles. And in most instances, they will Google you to try and find out information over and above the clean CV that you are sharing. And in most instances, our CVs are very clean. We share nothing but the best, but we don't share the same on our social media platforms or on all our other social media interactions. Your digital footprint is used by advertisers to target you with customized adverts. So because you search online, in most instances, our searches will be quite similar. And then because systems are built to sort of follow habitual habits, then they're able to check, okay, Umatapelo is always searching strawberries when she's online. She probably likes strawberries. And then when I log in, you will see that there's pop-ups that talk about strawberries to try and lure me into just clicking on and on and on and on to other pages. And then most websites also ask you to accept the use of cookies. And I've realized of lately that it's almost a force. It will come at you, especially if it's a new page. It will come at you and block everything that's on the website. It will sit on top of the website and say, before you continue, do you want to accept the use of cookies? And you have the option of accepting or not accepting. And in most instances, because we want to get to what we want to get to, we don't actually read the information that's there. We just click on yes, this thing disappears, and we carry on. But your mere clicking on of yes means that you've permitted your footprint to be saved online. What happens online stays online forever. So it's a record. We don't delete it. When you might think you used to have a profile on ABC platform, and because you've deleted the account, so you assume that the profile doesn't exist anymore. Reality is, with most platforms, you will create an account, and when you get fed up of the account or tired of using this account, you will delete the account. But the system will keep the account for you in the event you feel like going back again. And you will realize that when you activate this account, everything that used to be there still sits there and is not moved by anything. I actually was tired at some point of using Facebook, and I deactivated the account. And months later, I decided, you know what, for work, I need this account. And when I now went back to Facebook, activating it was as easy as remembering my password. There was nothing else, and everything that I had previously posted was still as it was. So the account was never touched, but my footprint remained. So pictures can be passed on to someone you don't know. You can delete it, but if it was copied, it can stay online forever, right? So what are cookies? Because we spoke about cookies earlier. So cookies are small files that websites store on your computer after your first visit to track activity. So to try and track all the things that you like, then they have these small files called cookies. And those files are kept there because it's kept there to try and track whatever it is that you like to search when you are online. Now let's get to the problem and the essence of why we're doing what we're doing and what the problem is with having all these digital footprints that we keep on leaving online. Currently, there are millions of teenagers that are posting personal information online and on social media networks. These teenagers do not realize that they are leaving a digital footprint, which can subject them to serious consequences in their futures. Many teenagers do not know the future employer college recruiters are tracking every move before they are even called in for an interview. It's exactly what we were talking about in the previous screen, that, you know, with our little ones in particular, they think they act out of innocence, and they're not imagining that whatever it is they're doing online could have a negative effect on them in the future at some point. And out of innocence, they keep on posting and posting and posting, but they don't realize the possible negative effects that the posting can do in future. Right? So as indicated in the previous slide, that there's 98.8% people who are accessing social media via their cell phones. So I think a lot of our online activities currently are on our cell phones. And I think this is the reason behind it, is that cell phones are much more reasonable and they are much more accessible. So all the activities that we do, we do from our cell phones. And I mean, it makes more sense to do the activities using your cell phones. It's easier to access. It's quicker because you're typing with one hand, and there are no particular strict rules on how to possibly type like you would on a computer. It's just also easy navigation, you know. So it's much easier, and this is why we see that 98.8 people access their social media on cell phones. And we indicated earlier that 97% of children have used a device by the age of 4. So this social media story, this online story, is not an ending story, because from the little ones all the way to the adults, everybody is online, you know. We're going to play a quick video just to look at what these consequences are that we're talking about.
Being silly can be fun, but remember, things you put on the net can float around for years and may come back to haunt you when people search for your name.
You're perfect for the job, Billy, but I can't hire someone who is obsessed with butts.
You see, I think, so what if your future employer decides Ubili posted about butts when he was innocent and young? He has an interest in butts, and he keeps on taking pictures, posts online about butts. 15 years down the line, he's in an interview, and the person who's interviewing Ubili says, "Billy, you've got a great record on your CV, but I can't hire you because you've got a great interest, an awkward interest in butts, and we don't know how that butt interest will affect the image of the organization." Remember that when we are being employed, or when we are looking to start businesses or get into business, there's an image that we need to uphold. And anything that's to hinder an image, then your access to the finance that you're looking for your business, or the job application that you're looking for, will not win you, will not gain you anything. It will not benefit you anything, because at the end of the day, it tarnishes the image of whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. So what if your future employer decides to check your online profile? Is the information positive or negative? These are some of the things that you need to consider, you know. And from a young age, unfortunately now, because we're using technology at a young age, we need to start sensitizing our young children about this, that whatever it is they post has a way of coming back to hit them at a later stage. And it's important that we emphasize it as much as possible from an early age. And for ourselves, we need to start considering that the information, is it positive or is it negative? This is the information that we are uploading online. Is the information wrong, or is it outdated? What positive things employers look for online? What are some of the positive things that employer look for online? And you will see, like in this image, these guys are probably looking to recruit Ubili, because from the CV. And Ubili from the CV looks so clean, looks like a proper person who could be hired and actually climb the corporate ladder. But over time, you realize that these guys are sitting and they can hardly look at the screen, because Ubili is probably showing his butt on the screen. And employers are thinking, not hired. And they're thinking, can you believe he posted this on Facebook? These are some of the things that employers go through when they're looking to actually hire some of us. What if your boss finds this online? You will see on the left, this is an employee from Burger King. And because we like playing around and being funny, this guy was captured gulping down some ice cream directly from the ice cream machine. And his colleague took a picture of this, and eventually this picture was all over social media, right? And on the right-hand side, we see this guy who was trampling on lettuce. And this guy is a guy from McDonald's. I'm going to pause here for a bit and ask you, what do you think happened to these guys? You can respond in the chat by just thinking out loud. What do you think happened to these guys? One of them is gulping ice cream directly from the ice cream machine. There's no cone, nothing, directly like that. Then the other one is just trampling on lettuce trays. And this lettuce is, by the way, meant to be served on one of your buns, because you'll be queuing at McDonald's looking to buy a burger. Little do you know that this was happening at the back. What do you think happened once these pictures went on social media? Right, we just got a response from Ambesiwe, who says, I think they lost their job. It's exactly what happened, Ambesiwe. Both guys lost their jobs just like that. And I'm thinking, Bona, they were playing around, thinking, you know, let's just fool around, just like Billy was doing in the video. No one is going to catch us. The friend takes a video, probably says, I dare you to the friend, you won't, I'll post this on Facebook. And the one says, yeah, I dare you, I'll post on Facebook. And the next thing, the pictures are trending online. And that's how the guys lose their job. I don't know if some of us remember this lady. Does anyone remember this lady? Okay, there's a response from Anele Kunene, who says, do you think that looking into a person's background as a way to qualify them for employment is fair? I mean, we all have made mistakes when we were young and stupid, but I can't carry the burden for the entirety of my life, surely. Right, so that's Anele's comment regarding the two guys. And I think it's true, Anele, that you can't carry the burden of what you did in the past, right? But I want us to look at the next slide. And I see Unokolo. Right, that's correct. The lady is actually, her name is Penny Sparrow, and she made a comment about Black people being monkeys, right? Upenny, I think a lot of us watched her. You know, she lost her job. Sorry about that. She lost her job, but you know, before she lost her job, she said in a number of interviews where she was trying to explain herself. I'm going to stop and I'm going to try and link us to a video where she was trying to explain what she was thinking at that moment, so that we all see and hear her try to explain. I'm going to quickly fast forward it.
Video patterns and all that. I love Facebook, and I was on there often. And in this particular instant, what happened was there's a lady who owns a few restaurants down there, an acquaintance that I had known from the days of my newspaper days, and she was trying to take over 2 restaurants on the beach, which she wasn't able to get hold of. They've been empty for 3 years, but there was a political thing about them. And she just said that the beaches this year are so bad, and perhaps she's glad she doesn't own those 2 restaurants this year. And I replied, yes, she was among those people being on the balcony, but I was among the people there, and it was extremely bad this year. And then I went on to say the things I said, which were read well. I know I mentioned 90s, and I know I said the majority was black or white, but it was mixed people, and I didn't mean it was
Right. So you will realize that she tries to explain the situation, but the explaining the situation doesn't undo what has been done already. And I think this speaks to the comment that we had earlier by
Anil.
Anele. Yeah, it was by Anele saying, we make mistakes. And this is exactly what Penny is saying. She's saying it was a mistake. I didn't mean it like you read it. But see, we don't have control over how people read what we say, and this is why it's important that we try and manage this digital footprint, to try and avoid as far as possible to find ourselves in situations like Penny did, and unfortunately she has since passed on. But the reality is, a lot of us read it in a way, in the manner that we understood it, and reading it in that manner meant at the end of the day she had to lose her job. So this is why it's important that we need to sensitize ourselves, because in the near future, your digital footprint will carry more weight than anything you might include in your actual CV, and you will see that the initial statement is that in the future, but we've included that the future is so near that it haunts you at the time when you need a breakthrough. So it's important that you try to be, as far as possible, to try and be conscious, because even though we look at it as a future, and this is the message that we need to be carrying, even to our children, even the way we behave currently, that, we might say it's the future. It is the future. However, it is here already. So you might as well start practicing doing right, because humans are generally people of habit. So once they start doing something, they just keep on doing it and doing it and doing it, and it doesn't stop. So if you're going to start being silly on social media, it starts at an early age and you grow right into it. And it will take a lot in order for you to stop some of the things that that may hinder your progress. I was listening to radio just this morning, and they were saying that Twitter will have a new feature where when someone posts and you reply, then it reads the statement that you're going to reply, and it will ask you, are you sure you want to post this thing? Because it tries to sensitize you and make you think about what you're trying to post. And the team was saying that half the time when they try to respond using this new feature, they actually sit and try to reword whatever it is that they were trying to say. And I'm imagining a situation where Upenny had mentioned, like, it was so dark, instead of saying it was full of black people and they looked like monkeys. Facebook had this feature that sort of asks you, are you sure you want to post this? It would have made her think about how she would have posed the question, and so that it would be received better by the next person. Right. So now let's look at managing this digital footprint, also, which links nicely to Anele's sentiments about we can't really be held responsible for things that we did when we were young, and we were innocent and we were just fooling around, right? There needs to be a way in which we manage this digital footprint. One of them is to we look at our profile, our online profiles, right? Consider your social media pages, all of them, and then you start selecting one, right? And when you select one, you now start looking at your privacy settings. Now I'm going to move out of this page so that we look at what is available there. so that we try and better manage our profiles. So I am going to share my Facebook account, and hopefully we're not gonna see anything scary. Let me cancel this post because I was busy trying to post something else just now. So this is my social media platform, right? And I'm just making an example of my Facebook profile. So you look at your Facebook profile, right? And then you go to your account, right? And under your account, what you want to do is you want to go to settings and privacy, right? And when you click on that, you want to go to privacy checkup. I would suggest you go there on a regular basis so that you check what privacy settings have been updated by Facebook, so that you review your current settings and change them such that they suit your environment, right? So you will see that the first option is who can see what you share. So you do have the option of closing your account so that not everybody can view everybody that you share, right? So when you click on that, you will see it says who can see what you share, and then you go and continue, and then it will start sharing all the information that you have and what it deems as personal information, right? So I've got my email, and you will see here on the right-hand side, I have clicked only me. So if an external body wanted my email, on my profile, I only have it as only me. I'm the only one who can see my email address on Facebook. But if you were keen on making it public, maybe this is a business account and you want everybody to know your email address, then you make it public. Or if you're using Facebook mainly for reconnecting with friends, then you want whichever friend that you may have lost along the way to reconnect to you and be able to talk to you. So then you allow only your friends to have access to your email address. But if you're thinking, some of my friends I actually don't trust, and some of the people that I've accepted on my profile are not necessarily really my friends, so you don't want them to have personal information. In that case, you can choose friends except acquaintances, because there's the friends that those who are really friends, and then there's acquaintances, people who just follow you because a friend is friends with you. Then they just follow, and it becomes that your network grows bigger. Then you can select this one. Or if you really want to bolt it down and make it private, you can select only me. In that case, only you have access to your email address, right? I also have that same setting for my birthday. I didn't want anybody posting happy birthday, because I know under normal circumstances, people don't actually even remember this birthday of mine. So if people are really my friends, and this is how you actually gauge real friendship, because if people are really your friends, they would know, they would have probably put a reminder on their phone or something like that, something that's closer than Facebook. Then they would be able to post from a place of a good place, and not necessarily because someone has said happy birthday. Now everybody wants to say happy birthday. So I've locked it, and people who are my real friends will then post on my profile when it's my birthday. Then there's posts and stories. If there's things that you want people out there to see, you'll see that I've set some of my posts to be public. And even so, what I've done is every time I have a post, it will ask me, do you want to post it to the public or to your friends only? Then I have a choice to make it public or share with my friends only. The same thing is with my stories and all the other elements that are there. And you also have the option of blocking anybody who's actually troubling you. All right. So there are things that these applications put in place, or elements around privacy and safety, that these applications have. What we have to do is to make sure that we make it our concern and make sure that we follow up and make sure that we update all these settings, because these settings are not there for just being there. They are there to protect you in the event where you are looking for work when anele. Then you know you are protected, but you have to make sure that the spaces that you are in are spaces that are actually protected. I sort of shared what the video was about, right? So to carry on, I was just re-emphasizing the importance of making sure that we use these features, because these features are not there just for the sake of being there. They are actually there to help you. So what you need to do is you need to enable your privacy settings. You need to untag photos of yourself where other people have tagged you, and make sure that you request Facebook not to allow people to tag you. So when you know, sometimes you go out jolling and in those spaces you guys go crazy, just make sure that your account is private and people are not even supposed to tag you. And so when your friends are doing all these things and they are posting, they can't link it to you, and it doesn't tarnish your account in 10. And then add to conversation in education on inspirational groups. So where you are doing good, because our CVs are speaking good about us already, where you are doing good, then those are some of the things that you should actually be punting out, so that people, so that the posts affirms what people see on your CV. And then you ensure your posts are constructive and appropriate and free of harmful comments. Just be responsible. You know, like we were saying, Upeni lost her job, and I'm imagining at her age, she became more frail and ended up being in a position where she got sick over time because of what was happening. And in her mind, like she explains it, she didn't mean to, and she didn't imagine that she'd end up where she ended up. But because of the neglect in terms of caring for her profile, she ended up where she ended up today. Now we're going to look at another platform that's very scary, actually, when you think about it, and it's called Track My Shadow. I'm not sure if it's a comment in the chat box, so I'm going to move quickly. Okay, so this pop-up keeps on popping up for no reason. So Trace My Shadow is a tool that allows to get a glimpse of the digital traces that you are leaving on online spaces. And the link Uzodumo will share in the chat box for you to trace your digital footprints. Perhaps the good thing is for me to actually follow it as well, so that you look at some of the features that it does track. You will see that this page is not active anymore, so it's not being updated on a daily basis. So in terms of the interactivity on the platform, it will be very minimal. However, it still does the tracking of the shadow, right? And what it does really is it tries to track a digital a footprint of what you are doing online. And from the feedback that it shares with you, then you are able to sort of adjust some of your accounts, and you are able to be more conscious about some of the things that you are doing online. All right. So I'm going to do my shadow quickly, so that you have an idea of how it works and see how it could potentially help you. So when you do follow the myshadow.org link, it will take you to this page. I just want to make sure that I'm on the landing page. Yeah. It will take you to this page. And what you want to do is you want to go to the options on the right-hand side, right? And then you want to trace my shadow. Okay. And when you get to trace my shadow, you want to open up on some of the, sorry, those are some of the policies. Sorry about that. You want to track some of the activities that it has on you in terms of your MAC address, and some of the investigation techniques that are used to track your shadow, and see how and who is collecting your data. Ooh, for some reason, I think I'm not getting exactly what I am looking for. But it's not this one that I'm looking for. No. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll pause on this one for now and we'll come back to it again. The next one that I wanted to share with you is the Google Google Maps timeline. And what happens here is that when you have a Google account, then Google is able to track all your movements, especially where your account has that Google Maps activated on your account. So I'll show you exactly what I am talking about. Uzotumo will share the link with you in the chat group, and I'm quickly going to log into my account. Right. And you will see from just looking at this here, that all the red dots are all the places that I've been to, or the places that Google has been able to track me move around. So at some point I was around Soshanguve area, I was in Pretoria, I was in Centurion, Midrand, Soweto. And when you look at this, you sort of have an idea that because I'm around this area a lot of times, then people who are using this are able to tell that, aha, chances are she probably lives somewhere along these lines. And from here, she then commutes to the different places for whatever reason. But you are able to track this by year. Let's see if I did have it in 2020. In 2020, I did have some marks. And let's say in 2020, I want to check February. And let's look at the date. Okay, there's nothing for February because I think I had disabled it. Let's look at 2019. Aha. And let's look at it by month. March. Okay, I have nothing in March. Okay, let's look at the entire month. But you will see that in 2019, I was actually not aware that this application was activated in my account. But you will see that it will show that I was around the Benoni area a lot, that I visited actually some schools around Soweto. I commuted to Johannesburg, and I was around the month of, which travel was this? It probably was March. Okay, so around April, I was a lot around the Springs area. And I went to Johannesburg at some point. So you'll see that Google is actually tracing your every move from back in time. So in the event that people were looking to track you down, or people were looking to trace your move, then Google would actually be able to share that information with whoever was looking. But then when you log into the platform, you are able to manage the location history, right? So when you click on manage location history, you will see that there's activity controls, and here location history, you are able to disable this so that whatever activity you are doing is not traceable, you know. But if you want to keep it traceable for whatever reason, then you can keep it on. Or if you want, you know, in the event you get lost and people want to find you, then this history becomes important, you know. Then you are able to automatically delete the history, or you are also able to manage some of the activities that are being done. So this is all just trying to show you how far this digital footprint element works. And again, I was listening to radio last night, and they were talking about Google Assist, and the fact that when you have Google Assist, it's always connected to the internet. You are able to set the time so that not Siri, Alexa is able to assist you. When you call Alexa's name, then the lights go on, or you are able to program it so that your lights go on at a particular time and things like that. And there was an ongoing debate about how safe that is, because it means that Google is constantly listening in on our conversation. And one guy even went as far as saying that if these Google platforms are listening to us so much, and there's elements like cookies that are put in place, it means if my wife and I are having a discussion about divorce, and we're having it over a period of a month, then when you when you log into your account, chances are you will be seeing all sorts of divorce lawyer recommendations over time. And it will be that easy to sort of find a lawyer around the area and get divorced over time. So, and the argument was, how safe is it to have people walk in our homes and like that? And, you know, where you have assistants like that, that turn your lights on, that shows that, you know, when you're not home, then people are able to program that, okay, when lights go on around the same time all the time, it means the person is not home for a long period of time. So there's elements that are dangerous that are linked to having all these digital tools listening in on us. And it's for such reason that we try and create a healthy digital footprint. And by doing so, we mean you showcase skills, your experiences, your talents, your interests, your achievements. Those are shareable things that you want people ordinarily to see, right? You share all the things you're good at. If you have good writing skills, your photography, your artwork, your music, public speaking, movie making, those are the good skills that you want to share and you want people to know about. But there's some things that you really don't want other people to have insights on. And this is why it's important to just reconsider the spaces that you find yourself in on social media, and make sure that when you are actively involved in these social media spaces, you take the responsibility of actually sitting down and looking at the privacy policies that are there, and making sure that you read and understand these policies so that you make the right you customize your account so that you make the right choices, and make your accounts private so that you protect yourself. And not only are you protecting yourself, you're also protecting your family. Because in the event that, for instance, you are being followed by Google or Trace Me, then it means that you are putting everybody else around you at risk. If people are looking for you, then they have access to your parents, they have access to everyone else who is around you. I'm going to pause for a second and see if there are any comments or questions in the chat box for interaction before I challenge you to sort of create a journal where you document some of today's lessons and share your thoughts on how you plan on managing your digital footprints, and where you provide practical examples of how you can implement this safe digital footprint. I don't know if there are any questions from the participants. I'm seeing a comment. Okay, it's not a comment. These are some of the links that we had shared with you. Whilst you share your comments or your questions, I think I'll go back to me and my shadow to try and see if I'll see this page that I was looking at, so that we see some of the digital elements that are used for tracing and tracking ourselves. I am going to quickly go back to sharing my entire screen and show you some of the elements that I found on this platform. So this is the Trace My Shadow platform, and what I was looking for is this Trace My Shadow. And you will see when you scroll down, it says here, click on the devices that you use, right? So I use my computer, and you will see that on the right-hand side, it has the number of traces that it has, right? And I can say internet access, and you'll see that the number increases here. And right below it, it will give me tips on some of the things that I'm doing wrong, right? And it says tips on moving records if you are surfing the net. So this means that when I surf the net, I'm not good with clearing my cache from time to time. So it's very easy to track and see all the web pages that I visit from time to time. So I need to fix that. And if I needed to fix that, then I would click on that, and it would give me a list of tips on how I could clear the records on my. It's also indicated that I'm not good when purchasing goods online. So I purchase things online, and I'm not good with deleting the history, which is not good, because it means someone can easily steal my credit card and get away with it because I don't delete the stuff. I'm also not good with some of the elements around my hardware. And when we say hardware, it would speak about things around my the MAC address, you know. It would the internet service, the device name log, and the routers that I'm using. So because I'm moving from area to area, I never delete the connection. So my system would be able to connect to my internet at home, but when I get to the office, it would automatically connect to the office, because I never reset every time I shut down, which is not great. So there's tips on how I can take care of my MAC address. You'll see that there were internet traces mainly, there's network traces, and there's local traces. These are all the mistakes that I'm doing wrong. And you can also get this data if you follow the link that Zotumo shared in the chat. Right. I am not sure if there are any questions from the participants. I don't want it to make it my session. I think it's a topic that we are all, you know, guilty of in terms of not really being conscious. And I think at the beginning of the session, it was well mentioned that, you know, whether it be intentional or unintentional, we make these mistakes of not taking care of our digital footprint. And whether we are conscious about it or unconscious about it, the footprint remains. And it's up to you as an individual to make sure that you take care of it and that you check on it from time to time. So it's not about set up now and you leave it. No, from time to time, check it. Not so long ago, there was a big craze around WhatsApp, you know, and people were saying WhatsApp is trying to steal our data, and everybody moved to Telegram. But ever since that, I don't think there are enough people that actually followed up and tried to see what data is WhatsApp trying to steal from us. How can we protect ourselves from this? You know, it was just a big thing that came up and everybody moved without actually following up and making sure that we know exactly what it is that's going on. All right, I am going to take it that there are no comments. And if there are no comments or questions, we would really like for you to try and take today's challenge, right? You create a blog journal, and in your journal, you write down your plan for managing your digital footprint. You provide practical examples on how you will implement some of today's lesson. Remember, it's important that you start doing it, and it's not something that you have just seen and you just you know, want to get it off your list of things to be done. Today's motivation is that it's important that, you know, you take care because when you take care of yourself, it means that you're taking care of the people around you. We can't afford to neglect ourselves such that we lose opportunities around being employed. We lose opportunities around funding receiving that grant for your business, simply because we made a stupid mistake at some time. Just try be as conscious as possible about the decisions you make and what you post online, and just follow through, man. Post what is right and good, and make sure that your account is private as far as possible, unless it's a business account. And where it's private, try to make sure that, you know, what you post is exactly what you would want a person interviewing you to see in that platform. So it's not just about having fun. There's more to these social media platforms than meets the eye. Right, so as we were saying, in your blog, you write 3 takeaways from today's session. This is the 3-2-1 model. You write in your journal 3 takeaways from today's session. You write 2 things you want to change or improve based on your learnings today. And finally, you write 1 thing to keep in mind when managing your digital footprint. Thank you so much for joining today's session. We really appreciate your time and your engagement during the sessions that we provide.